Hey everyone, and welcome to the Weeb Lounge. And this odd, fuzzy monstrosity of a game is one of the best MMORPGs ever made, and also one of the earliest. It is Asheron's Call. Came out November 2nd, 1999. Now, there's a lot of people who have no idea what Asheron's Call is. Now, back in the early days of MMORPGs, in their true form, I don't mean lobbies or anything, I mean open world, massive, multiplayer, online, you had what was the original big three. That was Ultima Online, the original EverQuest, and Asheron's Call. Now, Asheron's Call, I guess you could say, placed third in this trio. But the thing is, Asheron's Call was considerably the hardest, the biggest open world, the best PvP of all of them by far. And there's a lot of ingenuity that came with this game that pretty much every modern MMORPG uses to this day. For instance, most MMORPGs, they feature a large open world. You know, even like games like Grand Theft Auto, right? You have this huge open world to explore and go around. Well, a lot of these older games, and even some of the RPGs now, there's always cutscenes. You have this little area, and then you go to this next area, and it has to load the area, and it doesn't flow seamless. Asheron's Call was the first to have that big open world seamless feel. And in a lot of these MMORPGs, it's also the first, and this was going to sound like a really small detail. It's the first where if you run away from monsters, eventually they'll leave you alone. Yeah, you can run away from monsters. If anyone played the early, and I mean early launch of EverQuest, if you aggroed a monster, right? It didn't matter if it's something you could kill easily. It didn't matter if it's something that would kill you in one hit. It chased you and chased you and chased you until hell's end, until you're either dead or you zone into some other zone, right? Asheron's Call, they would chase you for so long, as you see me getting chased by a few things that just kind of pop in once in a while here. But eventually they leave you alone. Eventually they'll go back and they'll get tired and be like, forget this guy. I'm heading back, you know. They eventually leave you alone, which is, you know, World of Warcraft, it does it there, and all these other dungeons, you know, it eventually becomes something that's kind of standard in these type of games. Now, Asheron's Call, a lot of people don't even know about this game, right? Came out on November 2nd, 1999, and was actually online and playable for 17 years officially. You can still get on and play right now if you want via a few people that have emulated servers up, and it actually plays really well. And they've been keeping it updated. But that's for you guys to find out. Now, why was Asheron's Call, especially in my opinion, like the best of all of the early MMORPGs? And I've actually never had more fun playing an MMO than I have playing this game. Why is that? It was difficult. Oh man, it was difficult. Think of Korean RPGs, right? They have this huge grind curve, okay? Asheron's Call had a good grind to it, not to that extreme level, but enough to make you keep playing and be like, okay, if I get a little bit more powerful, maybe I can do this. If I get a little bit more powerful, maybe I can do that. And in this game, even though, you know, it's massive online multiplayer, you can do just about everything solo. There's some things that you couldn't, and especially back in the early days, you know, not so much because people just didn't know and people didn't have the time to get that as powerful. But yeah. Oh, let's take early on in Asheron's Call, it's like there was basically kind of one class to be, right? You could customize your character all to hell. If you wanted to cast lightning bolts, fire bolts, be able to heal somebody, and then punch them in the face for the kill, you can make a character do that. If you want to be able to cast a fireball and then fire it off with a crossbow bolt and then drain health, well, you could do that. Not the smartest build in the world, but you could certainly do that. You could customize your character however it is you want. Basically, you had these points to spend and you had skills. Okay? Points, skills, make the character however it is that you want. Some work, some don't. But the original character, and I'm talking when this game first came out, is just a standard 4 magic class character. Creature magic, item enhancement, life magic, war magic. You train all 4 of those up. You don't specialize anything. There's your regular character. You level it up. You level all the skills. You can annihilate just about anything, right? Later on, the classes got better and stuff like that. But how do you go about learning skills? All right, well, if you're learning skills, if you're using a sword or weapon or bow or anything like that, you just spend EXP on it to boost it up so that it, a higher chance to hit, maybe a little bit more damage, maybe a little better chance to crit. And that's pretty much all you did. Magic, though, it was such a pain. It was such a pain. Okay, basically you open up this tab and it's a research tab. And you have like a huge line of components to kind of drag and drop. You have tapers and crests and emblems and scarabs. You put them in a certain order. You hit the button to test it. And if it goes off, it works. If not, well, try again. And if you try to do this completely and utterly randomly, there are tens of thousands of combinations to try to learn one spell. And depending on the magic class you're trying to go at, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of spells to learn if you have all 4 classes. When the game first came out, you had level 1 through 6 spells. And then later on, not long after, they introduced level 7, and then later on, level 8. So you either had to get really lucky and find a scroll off a body of something in order to learn this spell, or you had to sit there and grind and, by chance, figure out these spells. Now, to be fair, later on, Decal, a plugin that you can, you can't see it in the video, but Decal came out with this plugin that once it learned a few spells, every character kind of had like this pattern that it followed, right? And once it learned a few spells and got the gist of what your character was doing, it followed a pattern, and you can just learn spell, learn spell, learn spell, learn spell. It wasn't as big of a deal. But before that plugin came out, oh my God. Oh, it was horrible. Those days I don't miss, and those days are also long gone toward the end of Asheron's Call. But yeah, back then, oh, that was horrible. That was so bad. But this game, what I'm doing right now is in this video is I'm running the Lady Aerofall quest. Now, the Lady Aerofall quest, you play any MMORPG, you kind of figure, okay, there's going to be these huge arcs, right? These huge stories, these huge quests to go on. Well, the Aerofall Island quest chain was like the very first big epic one, right? And it was difficult, but certain things you could solo, certain things you couldn't. And only the most powerful of players could really solo the last part of it. I mean, it was a headache to begin with. But taking down Lady Aerofall herself solo, you had to know your stuff. You had to have good stuff. Now, that quest, here's the thing with that quest. You had to go to different parts of the world at different moments to cause a chain of events in order to trigger the opening of the Aerofall Island castle, like her final lair, right? And at any moment, somebody could just out in the world, screw it. Like, you need to go get the Sleuth Gate bar, I think it was. And if somebody's already done the quest within a certain amount of time, well, you can't loot it, or it's just not going to be there, or you can't turn it in. And it's like, okay, well, I got to wait like 8 hours now, 12 hours a day. Oh, crap. And then you go through, you get all the way to the end. So you get to the final bit where you summon her lair, and somebody just happens to be out there walking around. Like, you turn in the last part, which spawns these skeletons to kill. Well, somebody just happens to be out there killing the skeletons, and they kill the wrong one. It summons the portal. The portal only stays there for a couple minutes, and by the time you get there, the portal's gone. Well, you just wasted your whole time. Wasted your whole time. Oops. You'll have to do it again next week. Or get somebody else to do it for you. Yeah, this was open world. There were no instances in this game. like if you open up that portal and there happens to be like 1,000 people standing around that portal, they could all go into it and all 1,000 people would be in the same dungeon. It wasn't instanced. It's not like World of Warcraft where you get a group together, you go do a dungeon, and it's just your group in that dungeon grinding through it to kill the boss. No, you're sharing that space with potentially thousands of other players, potentially at the same time, and yeah, that's that. There were no instances of this whatsoever. And the world was huge. On YouTube, you probably have to search for this, but a large comparison of worlds in the game. Which ones are the largest, which ones are the smallest. And Asheron's Call ranks up there pretty high. I remember one time I took my high-level character that can run like crazy, okay? There's no mounts in this game. It's just you and the run speed skill. I remember one time long back, I was kind of bored, and I was like, you know what? I wonder how long it would take me to just run the perimeter of the map. Just buff up my run all to high hell, Speedy Gonzalez my way through around the whole thing and see how long it takes me. It took about 10 hours. Not stopping, not taking a break, not fighting any monsters or anything, just constant running. 10 hours to get around the entire perimeter of this whole map, and I'm pretty sure there's a couple of spots where I just couldn't run, so I had to kind of take a little bit of a shortcut or cut around because I just couldn't go that way. The map was just so huge. It was so huge. Now, PvP in this game was also the best PvP I've ever played, and believe me, when I was like a half god on this. Now, if anybody played old school or whatever, I played a character named Darkside Babylon on the Morning Thaw server, which is a normal PvE server. I did actually sell that account. I'm guilty. I sold the account. I got a good chunk of change. And I ended up creating a couple other characters. Division Complex, Division Redux, Meryl Strife, and a few others. But Darkside Babylon was my primary character. And for a little while there, I was like king of PvP on Morning Thaw. Nobody took me out. Nobody. I remember going against this, some guild members or whatever was like, hey, there's a big battle going on in this city over here. Why don't you want to come have some fun? I was like, why not? Sure. Go over to the town and there's nobody else there. There's like there's like a guild of people going around murdering whoever they can. And then there's me. I lasted a half hour before they finally grouped up and killed me. I murdered the hell out of a lot of people. And after a half hour, they finally got together and just used like harm or something and just chained the hell out of me, just beat me all to hell. But yeah, that's the thing. Like in this game, PvP basically had the flag for it, right? You had to go do a little mini quest or whatever, flag, you go red. And it wasn't PvP, it was just PK, player killer, right? Old school terminology. It became PvP later on, but back then it was PK. And man, there was even politics with PvP. You were a looter or you were a non-looter, okay? Because in Asheron's Call, if you killed your opponent, you could loot their body, okay? And like the top, depending on the level, the top certain number of value things that they have drops on their body, you can loot it. Like if their primary weapon and a couple good pieces of armor were really high value, you kill them, oh, look what I got. You take that and you run off, and then their character gets to sit there and cry because it took them like 5 years to get that weapon. It was awful. So people carried what they call death items, all right? Or gear, like the shadow armor, that wouldn't drop on death. Or the focusing stone, which I think I'm using right now. Yep, I have it equipped right now. The little glowy egg orb thing that he's holding, which you'll see it when he goes like this to cast. And that ended up becoming like this political thing. Are you a looter? Or are you a non-looter? And I'm sitting here like, that's kind of stupid and silly. I had to deal with politics in this game so much from other guilds. Oh my God. Because we had one of the bigger ones. I don't think it was the biggest, but it was close. And oh my God, the politics were just kind of stupid. I'm the one that coined the term KOSLTN. KOSLTN. Kill on sight, loot till nude. And we did this to some poor guy. Long story short with this guy, he was being a dick. Okay, he was just being a nuisance, being a dick. He was lying to people. He was a horrible person. He was a bad player, blah, blah, blah. And he happened to be in my guild. Gave him chance after chance after chance. Finally, I said, you know what? Kill on sight, loot till nude. Found out where his life stone was. Okay? Killed him, looted him. Killed him, looted him. I did this personally. Killed him, looted him, killed him, looted him. Every time I loot some of his stuff or whatever, I'd run to the vendor and sell it off. Once you do that, you can't get it back. It's gone. I mean, this guy had nothing I cared about anyways. So basically, we kill him so many times, the guy's completely naked. He's like, hey, okay, you guys had a good laugh. Give me my stuff back. I was like, no, we vendor trashed that shit. Sorry, you're SOL. Well, next thing y'all know, he quit the game. Did I feel bad about it? No, not at all. Because the way this guy conducted himself in the game, no, I didn't feel bad about it one bit. Now, I just mentioned the shadow armor with PvP. Here's another kind of thing that they would do in this game. There would be real-time, real-life, in-game events. And I believe that this was one of the few games, if the only game, that kind of did that, right? There was a place called the Nexus. And the Nexus, nobody knew really what was going on with it, okay? There was some lore and storyline and everything, but nobody really knew. They just knew that this really tough dungeon was about to open up. There's a boss at the end, and at this exact time, the doors are going to swing open, and everyone has access to it. Well, remember, there's no instances in this game, right? None. Everybody shares the same space. So imagine, 2,000 people or so kind of crouched around the entrance of a dungeon, and this is back when a lot of people are still on dial-up and graphics cards really suck. I mean, I think I played at 800 by 640 resolution, and that was like good back then. Ooh. So needless to say, there's a lot of people who went to this dungeon, camped out, and couldn't even move. And they would get disconnected. They couldn't move. Their computer would crash. They'd get disconnected. Whatever the heck it is. Oh, this is the guy. Yeah, you got to hand him the Sleuthgate bar or whatever. And he the Behemoth of Ten Cardoon. Okay, something ancient. I used to run this thing so many times, and even to this day I can't remember exactly what to do. But yeah. That's part of it. I'm doing the Airfall Island quest right now, and my jumping skills are bad. Oh, man. But the Nexus, it was just weird. I mean, I think I was on dial-up at the time, and I basically couldn't handle it, right? It just, my stuff would crap out or whatever, so I didn't even try to go down there. But the people that were able to and did get down there, they would find this boss, right? A bunch of crystals and stuff, and they kill it. And what drops was the Nexus Shadow Armor. Now, veterans of Asheron's Call knows what the Nexus Armor is. It is some of the best armor in the game, period. Why? It's just high armor class, high resistances, and would not drop on death. It's good stuff. Over on the PK server, Darktide, it was exploited and duped to a degree to where everybody got it, and the people that run the game, the servers, they pretty much had to say, okay, you guys duped the hell out of this thing. Now nobody gets it. And they removed all of them. That's how bad it got. But whoever killed the boss first got what is supposed to be a 1 per server, 1 per world unique item. What games do that now? I don't know of any offhand. I'm sure there's got to be some. But I don't know of any, and I'm pretty sure AC here, Asheron's Call, was probably the first to do it. I don't know. But, if you had a character with one of those items, that was status. It wasn't just the fact that you had a really nice item, it was status. And, the cool thing is there was a Shroud of Levistrist, which is one of those kind of items. The first person that kills it gets one that has better stats, right? And me, my buddy, and the guild or whatever, we were actually able to get down there first and get that, original first piece of whatever. I'm going to fast forward here a little bit on this and see if I can find the behemoth or... Oh, that's the behemoth. Scroll back a little bit there. All right. So, essentially, you had to work. You had to work. You had to know your lore. You had to research. You had to do everything yourself. There was no wiki to go to figure things out. Not right off the bat, and it took a little while to get into the game before. Yeah, it wasn't a thing. And all the information that you had, the PvP, I mean, everything was just so good. Here's one of my best duels I ever had playing PvP. All right. I still don't remember the name of the guy that I fought, but I do know that I pissed this guy off to a degree that I don't think I've ever pissed anyone off ever. Now, if you have a duel in Asheron's Call, it could be really, really quick. Okay. Vulnerability, couple of bolts, you could drop unless you know what you're doing. I knew what I was doing. And the guy that I was going up against, he knew what he was doing. He was good. I was good. This duel lasted over an hour. Now, keep in mind, back then, buffs only lasted like maybe 15 minutes. And it took you like 5 minutes to cast all the buffs, so you got like 10 minutes of play. So we had to rebuff like 4 or 5 times in the middle of the fight. You know, one person's trying to shoot. I'm trying to put on protections and keep myself alive and then he'll stop and he'll try to buff up, and then I'll try to kill him while he's buffing up. Couldn't do it. Nobody could kill nobody. And the reason I know I pissed him off, there's 2 different ones. One, I was a master of fucking people's shots up. I could see what the other person's doing. You see him do the cast motion, and I could time it to where I just tap the jump button. Okay. Now, if you cast a bolt in this, it actually has to hit. It's not like World of Warcraft where you cast a fireball and it'll go like this following whatever the hell it is that hits you or whatever. The bolt fired at a predicted path to try to hit you, and it had to actually hit you. You could dodge, okay? You can dodge arrows, you can dodge spells, you can, whatever. So I learned, because it's predictive, if you're running this way, then the bolt's going to get cast like this to meet you, okay? That's how it works. It tries to meet you. It tries to predict where you're going. So what I would do is the second they cast, I would tap the jump button, and their bolt would go straight up in the air. It's completely worthless. Just tap jump, make my guy move a little bit at the exact right time. Their bolt goes flying into the air, and they're like, you just see them getting mad. Oh, this guy got I hit it to him so many times. He's just raged. I did win the duel, but it was by default. And what I mean by that is that he got so pissed, he started calling me names, yelling at me, screaming at me, and eventually logged out in the middle of the fight. So I won by default. Best duel ever. It was a war of attrition, and I won. But, not just that, there's been so many stupid little instances in this game that has happened that to this day, 20 years later after its, 21 years later after its initial release, that just, keep sticking with me. And I keep comparing other games to it. What the fun factor is, what the difficulty factor is. Asheron's Call, you can play it as a team, of course. You can go in groups and have parties and stuff, but you can also, if you're good enough and powerful enough, you can do just about anything solo. Except for certain dungeons that requires multiple people in multiple spots, right? Oh, one of the funniest things ever. I'm using Meryl Strife, who was my archer, my missile class, right? And she had a hollow bow. Now, what a hollow bow is it ignores any kind of magical defenses. It ignores magical defenses, and it ignores any kind of magic, basically. And I'm over at Mayoy. Mayoy was our hometown. I'm standing up on a hill. I'm flag PK, and my buddy Realdane, he's I believe he was playing a character called Zero Ryoko at the time from Tenchi Muyo. And he's down in the town talking to somebody, trading with somebody, minding his own business. He's flagged too, he's flagged PvP, but he don't care. And I'm up on the hill, And I'm talking to him over a phone. There's no Ventrilo or TeamSpeak yet. I'm talking to him over a phone. We have a dedicated phone line. I did have Comcast. It was like 1.5 meg down at this point. I'm talking to him over a dedicated, over a phone line, an extra phone line I had put in for internet originally. And this is our Ventrilo just so we can talk. And he just goes, "Damn it, Merrill, I see you up there." Boom, dead. I just fired one bolt out of nowhere, just boo, and you just see it land on it, just boop, falls over dead. Portal. I guess he had to be there, but it was just the funniest shit. But you can kind of tell by my demeanor or whatever. I have a fun time, remembering these memories and recalling them. And, even when I was doing this on these emulated servers, I was going back and I was like, okay, let's do the Airfall Island quest, do this, that, the other. It's a fun little thing to do. It's, it's kind of retro, I guess. It's kind of reliving some old memories. And the game still holds up. It's still fun. I mean, compared to the graphics of this now turd to anything modern, and yeah, it's the graphics are pretty horrible. But for its time, these graphics were actually like top of the line crazy. I know that might sound a little stupid but back then, this was the top stuff. This was the good stuff. Oh, if only I had multiple Monster 3D cards to chain together so I could play it better or something. I'm kidding with that. I think it was like early GeForce something that I had, like a GeForce 3200 45AX Force. I don't know what it was. I really don't, but it's nothing mainstream, that's for sure. But this is one of the best games, best MMORPGs, and I actually highly recommend giving it a try. I can't explain exactly what you need to do, but they have emulated servers. A little bit of Google will get you on the right track, and you can play right now if you want. Completely free. Log in, make a character, do what you got to do, have fun. There's some servers where you can literally have 20 accounts running at the exact same time. 20 accounts. And there's the one server that I played on, it was Harvest Bud. They only allow 3 accounts, so it doesn't get so stupid, crazy, and everything, because you could literally have 50 accounts. On some of these servers, you got 50 different accounts, 50 different characters, all macroed, all automated, all fighting stuff on their own. And I still don't know what the enjoyment is of doing that. Just doing it because you can, I guess. Oh, Smite the Hellfire. Ash. I'm trying to read the text down there, and I think it's okay. I'm going around farming stuff for the Atlan weapons, I believe it is. Little early on, Atlan weapons were good stuff, but nowadays not so much. Not after they came out with some expansions and such. But yeah, this game was one of the best ones. A couple of the characters that I remember from playing with back in the day: Xanator Moonblade, Beelzebub. And let's see, there was Randall Thor. Randall Thor got pissed at us when they put housing in or whatever over at Mayoi. Okay, we were like the first on Morningthaw to purchase a mansion, because if you wanted to purchase a guild mansion, it cost like this ridiculous amount of money and a lot of random stuff. Well, I had one character who was Mr. T and his gold. He was my banker / merchant, and probably most likely the richest character in the game, at least on that server for damn sure. And he had ridiculous amount of stuff. Between him and my other characters, I had a ridiculous amount of stuff stuff that you wouldn't even think to keep, I kept. And he had hundreds of millions of Pyreal notes, if not combined over characters, probably got past 1 billion. I wouldn't doubt it. I could blow money like it was nothing. But anyways, we got accused of having insider knowledge for knowing the exact cost of the mansion, because mansion came online. We had needed a few things. I took Mr. T out to Subway, which was the trading area. Take him to Subway. And I announced ridiculous prices paying for these stupid things that you need to buy the mansion for. Ridiculous prices. So needless to say, I got what I needed. And within 15 minutes, hauled back to the mansion, bought it, we were good. It's just things like that. There was politics involved. The game was hard. The game was challenging. PvP, I still have yet to play another MMORPG where the PvP was as fun as this. None. You know, World of Warcraft, a lot of people love PvP, but in reality, it's kind of a rock, paper, scissors game, right? In this, it was skill. I mean, you had to time your shots, time this, time that, time the little hops that I would do. It's all about timing and casting the right spell at the right time, and you got to do it right. You know, I could actually probably go on for another half hour, to be honest. I could go on about the Asheron event or whatever, where they're trying to summon the big bad and get crazy, and the developers would log in as these characters and buff and kill random people or throw them in the air, and just all these, the Shroud of Levistris thing or whatever, where it was the mad rush to get that and ring spells. And yeah, there's a lot to this game that unfortunately nobody will be able to live again unless somebody does some emulated retro servers. But otherwise, yeah, those days are come and gone. But I do encourage you giving it a chance. Like I said before, Google it, give it a go, free, doesn't hurt. And man, if you don't have fun, then something's just wrong with you. It's a stupid little fun game to go back to. And back in the day, this was serious shit. With that, like, subscribe, hit that notification button. I'll probably go over a few more retro games or whatever in my past. And one of those might be World of Warcraft, some of the old school stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I had more fun in Asheron's Call than World of Warcraft. But with that, we'll see you in the next video.